Hey everyone. So I want to talk to you today about a question I get all the time in my Bill Like a Boss group. Kim, how do I request a rate increase with the insurance companies? What's the process? How do I ensure that they're going to give me an increase? So before we get into that, I'm Kim Tolson. I am an insurance-based therapist and private practice owner, and I help other therapists learn how to run their private practices and become their own billers in their private practice if they want to learn how to bill insurance on their own. So this is part of Bill Like a Boss. This is the content we cover all the time in there. And I wanted to share with you because in my free Facebook group, Insurance Billing for Telehealth Practitioners, this question came up the other day and there was tons of activity around it. People were saying, I asked for a million increases, I never get one. And then other people say that they've asked and they've gotten increases on a regular basis. So what is the difference and how can you ensure that you're actually going to get the rate increase? So couple things to think about. First of all, there are insurance companies that generally are never going to give you an increase because they have across the board rate increases that they do. And one of those is Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now, before you hit reply to this and send me a message, there are some Blue Cross Blue Shields that will give you rate increases. I've heard of that happening, but generally it's across the board raise for different regions because Blue Cross Blue Shield is a state by state entity, really. So each state operates differently. And generally, you're not going to get it, but it never hurts to ask. And I tell everybody, just ask and see what they say. You might get one. It doesn't hurt to ask. There's not going to be any punitive things that are going to happen to you if you do ask. Just want to get that out of the way. Medicare, that's another one that's a fixed rate that is decided every single year what the rate is going to be that providers are going to be paid for seeing their clients. So, there's not really anything you can do about that. Medicaid is another one. Rarely are you going to get an increase from Medicaid because that, again, is a state entity. It's governed by a lot of factors, so they don't usually respond to individual provider requests around that stuff. Okay, so just to get that out of the way, then we're left with the other commercial providers that you can ask for rate increase. So in the ever-evolving landscape of healthcare and mental health and therapy, therapists often really find themselves at a crossroad. The cost of providing quality care, continuous training, and maintaining a private practice rises steadily. The costs rise steadily with that. So while reimbursement rates from the insurance companies sometimes remain stagnant, over time, this disparity can strain a private practice's resources and potentially compromise the quality of care. So you do want to make sure you're asking for regular rate increases. And if the insurance company no longer pays you enough to run your practice, you might want to think about getting off that insurance panel altogether. And that's a whole other topic we could talk about in a different video. And I have talked about it in other videos. And we talk about it in Bill Like a Boss all the time. You have to take care of yourself first and make sure you're making enough money so you can provide quality care to your clients. So that's where requesting a rate increase does come in. It is not just about enhancing profits. It's more about ensuring that your practice can continue to offer top tier services to your clients. So if you're making a really low rate for, half the population of your town because no other provider is seeing clients that have that insurance because of the low rate, you're going to get burned out super fast. You're going to have a long wait list. You're going to have tons of people coming in and seeing you at this really low rate. So there is a business perspective that you need to take when you're thinking about taking insurance and staying on insurance panels, and then a strategy around requesting increases. So first of all, let's think about considerations when you're applying for a rate increase. So applying for a rate increase is a strategic process in your private practice. It's something you want to schedule every year to make sure you're doing it the same time every year asking for a rate increase. They might say no, but usually if they do say no, they'll tell you when you can ask for one, or they'll just say, we don't do that. So, start out with this process right now. After you watch this video, get a system in place where you strategically go and ask for raises with the insurance companies, and then you can put it on your calendar and you can make it a regular part of your insurance-based practice. It should just be part of the system. And it does require a strategic approach. So firstly, therapists need to assess their current standing with the insurance company. Have they been providing services under the current rate for several years? That's usually an indicator that you'll get a raise. If you just got credentialed 2 months ago and you asked for a raise, it's probably not going to happen. Although I have heard of some companies doing that. but generally they want to see that you've been a provider for a few years before you start asking for raises. But it doesn't hurt to ask the insurance company exactly when can I start asking for raises, because they will give you that information usually. Some will say, we don't know, just here's a form and see what happens. But some of them will say, within 2 years. You can even ask at the credentialing and contracting phase, when can I ask for a rate increase? What's the procedure for this? So getting that information up front is really important. Another thing to think about is your expertise or your scope of services. Have they expanded since you credentialed with the insurance company? These factors can really strengthen your case for a rate increase. And additionally, it's crucial to be aware of the broader market dynamics. So, things like, are other insurance panels or employee assistance programs offering higher rates for the same services in your area? Comparisons like that can really give you leverage during the negotiation process with the insurance companies. And lastly, the timing of the request can be pivotal. It's beneficial to approach the insurance companies at a time when they're reviewing their contracts, or when the therapist has recently achieved a new milestone, or it's your annual anniversary of being credentialed or contracted with that insurance company. So a significant milestone is important to pay attention to, even if it's a new certification, or if you've had something change in your practice where you now have brought on like a psychiatrist or a nurse practitioner that's doing prescribing, or you're the only place in town that offers, EMDR services, and your local area really needs help. Maybe there's been a crisis lately that's happened, a mass school shooting, and you offer EMDR. There are all kinds of things that you can use to leverage getting a increase from the insurance company. So in most cases with the insurance company, there is some sort of procedure that you have to follow to get a rate increase. So you can start by calling provider relations or the contracting department, even the credentialing department sometimes. If you can't find where to call around. Somebody will eventually direct you to the right place. So once you do that, you're going to want to ask them, what is the process or the procedure for me to request a rate increase? Some insurance companies actually have a form that you have to fill out. Sometimes they'll say, put it in writing and fax it to network management here at this fax number, and you can fax the letter over. So I want to talk about things that you can include in that letter when they ask you to do that. Even sometimes Cigna, for example, had a form you had to fill out. You could fill it out and put in a lot of details. So even when you have forms like that, you can find opportunities to add some of this stuff in that I want to talk about with you today. The introduction, the basics, this serves as your foundation for your letter. It's essential to establish your professional identity right at the outset. You're always going to want to include information that's going to identify you with the insurance company. So your name, your licensure level, all of your credentials, all the letters after your name, your NPI number, your NPI-2 number that you're credentialed with. Any identifying information that you can give them on the outset is going to be helpful for them to look you up, see the history of your contract, and that sort of thing. They'll be able to see, do you have a lot of clinicians in your group practice? Do you have a prescriber in your group practice? All kinds of different things. So make sure you introduce yourself at the outset, and make sure you include your practice name. Make sure you include your practice name, address, any of the information that they're going to have on file. You want to make sure that you make it really easy and accessible for them to find it in your letter. And this section is going to set the tone for the rest of your letter. So a well-structured introduction with all the relevant details, neatly presented, gives the impression of a well-thought-out request, and it shows that you're serious about asking for this rate increase, and that you're super professional and a very important clinician to continue to have on their panel to offer to their members. First impressions matter, communication is important, use all the correct grammar, all of that stuff. Next, you want to direct your letter to the appropriate department, the contracting department, credentialing. That's who usually handles matters related to provider rates and contracts. So by addressing them directly, you ensure that your request reaches the right eyes and the right ears. Sometimes you fax something and it just goes into no man's land, so you want to make sure it's going to the right department. So the purpose of this letter is to clearly state what you're looking for. It immediately informs the reader of your intentions and sets the context for the details that follow. So being upfront about your request for a rate reconsideration Really shows transparency and directness, and it's really appreciated with professional communications just to say what you're looking for so they don't have to go hunting through the letter to figure out what you're asking. So just be direct in your communications with the insurance company. They get these all the time. It's not a new thing for them. So the next section that you want to address in your letter is detailing your history with the insurance company. So you're painting a picture of a long-standing and fruitful partnership with them. You're going to mention positive feedback from the community, growth that you've made in your practice. Maybe you brought on new clinicians. You want to really showcase your value, but also subtly hint at your loyalty and that you've had consistent service and been a great provider for their company in the past. So you want to touch on that. And then furthermore, you want to emphasize any additional trainings or certifications that you've acquired since you first became credentialed with the insurance company. So it serves two purposes by doing that. First, it's highlighting your commitment to professional growth and providing top-notch services to your clients, that you're staying ahead of the research and training. And to the insurance company, that translates to you are doing therapy more effectively and by standards that meet medical necessity to prove that you're doing quick and effective therapy. They want to know that. They want to know that you are following these standards and that you're going to see the client, fix the client, and then move them on out of there, because really the insurance companies are all about efficiency and money when it really comes down to it. And secondly, it positions you as a provider who is continuously adding value and therefore justifying the need for a rate increase with the insurance company. So next, you really want to go into the reasons for the rate increase. So this section is the crux of your letter. It's where you present the rationale behind your request. You could break down the reasons and you make a structured argument, each point building on the previous point, discussing factors like inflation and the cost of living can really showcase an awareness of broader economic realities that are going on in your community and in your state, or even nationally, bringing awareness to that if the insurance company is a national-based company. So it's not just about wanting more money, it's about the necessity of keeping up with increasing expenses within your world, your community, your state, the nation, that sort of thing. Secondly, you want to highlight specialized services and comparative rates that really brings the argument closer to home. So it's about the unique value that you offer and ensuring that the value is recognized and compensated fairly. So by the time the reader finishes this section, they should have a clear understanding of the multifaceted reasons behind your request and why you are super eligible for this rate increase. So while the previous sections built your case, the next section is where you make your ask or your request for the rate increase. So it's really essential to be clear, concise, assertive. Stating your current rate and the desired rate leaves no room for ambiguity. I've seen people take this part and say, for each CPT code, this is how much you're paying me. You can compare it to other insurance companies. You could say insurance company X is paying me this much for these CPT codes, and you can specifically ask for the amount you want it to be increased to. And I say, shoot high, go big. It's the old theory. If you ask big, you might get like somewhere in the middle. So shoot for a high rate that you think that you're really worth, or even your self-pay rate that you're charging. Ask for something higher than you would expect them to pay is really the advice I would give around that. And who knows what would happen. They usually will come back and say, well, we can only give a 10% or a 5%, or, we can only give $2 per CPT code. There's different standards around that. But if you're very specific around, this is how much you're paying me, this is how much I'd like to get for these CPT codes, and this is how much insurance company X is paying me for these CPT codes, that will help you negotiate the rates a little bit better. So then they know exactly what you're asking for, and you can make it easier for them to assess and respond to your request. And it's not a vague plea for more. It's a really specific and a justified request for a defined amount. In the next section, you want to show an openness to discuss the rates. By expressing a willingness to discuss the request further, you're signaling to them that you're open to feedback and negotiation around the rates. And it's a gesture that can go a long way in fostering goodwill if you're flexible. So that's why we say aim high with the rates and then leave room to negotiate or discuss what they might offer. Lastly, you want to have a strong conclusion that reinforces the main points of your letter and leaves a lasting impression. By expressing your gratitude for the ongoing relationship with the insurance company, you're emphasizing the mutual benefits of the relationship. It's a reminder that this isn't just about the money, it's about continuing to have a strong collaboration with the insurance company and presumably making your relationship beneficial for both parties, their clients and for you. Reiterating your commitment to providing quality services ties it back into the central theme of the letter. And what you're really wanting is to do a rate increase and get paid more. So lastly, just a few more tips. As I was saying in the beginning, if you call and they say, it's too soon to request, ask them the date that you can request the increase. Mark it on your calendar. Make sure you call every 6 months or whenever they say you're allowed to ask for the increase, and keep every 6 months or whenever they say it's okay for you to ask for the increase, and keep calling until they give you the increase. Unless it's a company, as I was saying before, like Medicaid, Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's not going to give you a raise. But don't forget to ask just to make sure, especially with the Blue Cross Blue Shields. Medicaid and Medicare, you're not going to get a raise more than likely, but the other ones, always call, ask when can you call back to ask for the raise, ask what the procedure is to ask for it, and ask who you send the letter to or the form back if that's what the procedure is. And then make sure you're consistent with it. You could ask for a raise every single year if it's permitted by the insurance companies. And it's just a good business to continue to do that and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because the more money you're making, the better you're going to be able to take care of your clients and not be completely burned out and broke. Okay, so I hope that helps. If you'd like a copy of my template that I give to all of my Bill Like a Boss members, shoot me an email at info@kimtolson.com, or come join us in Bill Like a Boss, where we have quality content like this all the time. We walk you through stuff like this. Anything really that you're having issues with around insurance billing in your private practice, we can help you. Every single week, we have a live billers meeting with myself and Annie and Donna, our certified billers of Bill Like a Boss. The three of us run Bill Like a Boss together. We give you a training every single month on any topic that the group consensus is asking for. We do the live billers meeting every single week. We'll hop on a Zoom call with you and look in the back end of your EHR to help you if you're stuck with something. We will walk you through credentialing applications. Anything you need help with, we're there for you. So check it out. The link is down under the video for Bill Like a Boss. Come join us. And also don't forget to email me if you'd like a copy of this letter. Okay? Take care. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. And I hope you get those rate increases.